Officer James Mercer adjusted his belt with the nightstick as he walked down Corridor C of the Bedford Hills Women's Detention Center. His footsteps echoed against the gray concrete walls, a constant rhythm that marked the identical days in this place, where time seemed frozen. He had turned 29 the week before, but already carried in his eyes the weariness of someone who had seen too much. "Hey, handsome," a melodious voice cut through the air. "Aren't you going to say good morning today?" Mercer didn't need to look to recognize the voice of Leticia Vasquez, inmate 45873, serving 8 years for fraud. Her Latin beauty and cunning smile had earned subtle privileges from less discreet guards. Mercer just nodded, keeping his eyes fixed on the end of the corridor. "What's the problem, Mercer? Your girlfriend won't let you talk to me." Leticia pressed her body against the bars, her slender fingers intertwining with the cold metal. Muffled, laughter came from several cells. Everyone knew who she was referring to. Rebecca Kane, inmate 52910, was the new sensation at Bedford Hills. A former Wall Street broker imprisoned for money laundering, Rebecca didn't belong in that world of concrete and steel. With blonde hair that seemed to absorb any ray of light that dared to penetrate the narrow windows, and a gaze that alternated between vulnerability and calculated arrogance, she had become the center of attention, especially Mercer's. The guard continued walking, ignoring the comments, though he felt heat rising up his neck. Director Holloway had spoken with him the previous week. "Rumors are like fungi in this place, Mercer. They grow in the dark and spread quickly. Don't give me reasons to investigate them." As he turned the corner, he spotted Rebecca in the inner courtyard, sitting alone on a concrete bench, absorbed in a hardcover book. The morning sun transformed her hair into liquid gold. For a fleeting moment he fantasized about what it would be like to touch it. "Mercer." Sergeant Powell's harsh voice broke the spell. "I need you in Block D. There's been an incident." The incident was Diana Reyes, inmate 41205, former gang leader with scars on her face that told stories of survival in the streets of the Bronx. Her fists were bloodied, and her cell looked like it had been hit by a hurricane. "What happened here, Reyes?" Mercer asked, keeping a safe distance. Diana spat on the floor. "Ask your princess. That bitch stole what's mine." "Watch what you say," Mercer warned, trying to keep his voice neutral. "What did Kane supposedly steal?" A crooked smile appeared on Diana's marked face. "You idiot, she stole you." Powell stepped forward. "Solitary for 72 hours, Reyes. Now." As the guards escorted Diana away, she shouted, "You know what she does when you're not looking, Mercer. You know who she meets in the showers after lights out." Mercer felt something cold settle in his stomach. He knew he shouldn't care. He knew he was crossing a line that couldn't be retraced, but the seed of doubt had been planted. In the monitoring room, alone during his break, Mercer rewound the security camera footage from the night before. A serious violation of protocol, a decision that could cost him his job, his entire life. The grainy images showed the empty corridor leading to the showers. 22:17, nothing. 22:43, a shadow. Mercer adjusted himself in the chair, leaning closer. To the screen, Rebecca emerged from a dark corner, looking both ways before entering the shower area. 51. A second figure appeared. It wasn't Diana as he feared, nor Leticia. It was Officer Sofia Martinez, a newly transferred guard, attractive and reserved. Martinez looked directly at the camera before disappearing into the same area as Rebecca. Mercer's blood froze. Martinez knew where the camera blind spots were. She showed no fear of being discovered. Mercer turned off the monitor, his mind spinning. With possibilities and implications, he was losing control of the situation, if he ever had any. "You look worried today." Rebecca's voice was soft, almost a whisper, as she pushed her tray through the lunch line. "We shouldn't be talking like this," Mercer replied, but didn't move away when she came closer. Everyone talks here. It's how we keep our sanity. Her blue eyes met his. Some people do more than talk. What do you want, Kane? Mercer asked abruptly. Slow smile formed on her lips. Protection. Everyone here wants protection. Not everyone needs it as much as I do. She tossed her hair back, revealing a recent bruise at the base of her neck. Diana has friends. Martinez has keys. I thought maybe I had you. In that moment, Mercer realized he was being manipulated. By Rebecca, by Martinez, probably by Diana and Letitia too. Bedford Hills was a chessboard, and somehow he had become a crucial piece in a game he didn't fully understand. Meet me in the library at 3 p.m., he whispered, hating himself for every word. 5 minutes, no more. Rebecca's smile widened, lighting up her face in a way that made Mercer's heart stumble. I knew you were different, Jimmy. No one had called him Jimmy since his mother's death. In the library, between dusty shelves of rarely touched law books, Rebecca told a different story than what was in her file. Martinez and Diana have an agreement. Drugs come in, favors go out. It started before I arrived, but now they want me to be part of it. I need an ally, someone from outside the bars. Why should I believe you? Mercer asked, aware that each second in that conversation could destroy his career. Rebecca moved closer, her eyes suddenly hard as diamonds. Because in 3 days, a large shipment is coming through that service door that nobody watches after 11 p.m. And when that happens, Diana will control half of this prison, and Martinez will make sure nobody interferes. How do you know this? Because they want me to launder the money, like I did on the outside. They've set up a system, but they need someone with my talent. She lowered her voice even more. I'm giving you a chance to be a hero, Mercer. Or you can pretend you don't know anything and watch this place explode. Before he could respond, heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. Go, she whispered urgently. Think about what I said. You have 3 days. Mercer quickly left through a side door, his heart hammering against his chest. As he walked away, he saw in the reflection of a window that it wasn't Diana or Martinez approaching the library. It was Director Holloway, and for the first time since he started working at Bedford Hills, James Mercer felt genuine fear. The weekly staff meeting had never seemed so long. Mercer fidgeted restlessly in his plastic chair as Director Holloway lectured about recidivism rates and disciplinary measures. Her dark eyes, sharpened by 20 years of running state prisons, occasionally fixed on Mercer, as if they could read his thoughts. Any concerns you'd like to share, Officer Mercer? Holloway asked abruptly. All heads turned to him, including Officer Martinez, who watched him with calculated interest. No, ma'am, sorry. Good. Holloway closed the report folder. Because I have a specific concern with Block C. There seems to be a growing imbalance there. Martinez crossed her legs, her perfectly pressed uniform in contrast with the dark circles under her eyes. Imbalance, ma'am? Powell asked. Favoritism, excessive closeness, protocol violations. Holloway wasn't looking at anyone in particular, but her words fell heavily in the room. Bedford Hills functions like a clock, ladies and gentlemen. When one gear misaligns, the entire mechanism fails. After the meeting, Martinez caught up with Mercer in the staff corridor. First day I've seen you sweating in a meeting, Mercer. Her accent had a slight touch of Brooklyn, despite her Hispanic surname. Something bothering you? The heat, he replied dryly. That ventilation system never works right. Sure. Martinez smiled. The heat. She moved closer, adjusting the radio on his belt, an unnecessarily intimate gesture. Be careful with the temperature, colleague. Things heat up quickly around here. Mercer pushed her hand away with more force than necessary. I'm fine. I hope so. Martinez took a step back, her smile unchanged. Because a lot of people depend on you staying cool. In the cafeteria, lunch proceeded with the usual tension. The inmates grouped themselves by affiliations, street gangs, ethnicity, type of crime. Rebecca sat alone, as always, but Mercer noticed that Diana Reyes, freshly out of solitary, was watching her fixedly from her table, surrounded by 3 women with tattoos similar to hers. Leticia Vasquez circulated between the groups, smiling and whispering. Mercer knew her type, collectors of information, traffickers of favors and secrets. More dangerous than those who use their fists, the atmosphere changed when Director Holloway entered the cafeteria. Something rare. Conversations diminished to murmurs. Holloway walked directly to Rebecca. Inmate Kane. My office. Now. Rebecca rose calmly, her face a mask of studied indifference. As she passed by Mercer, she dropped a small folded piece of paper. He waited 3 long minutes before bending down to pick it up, pretending to tie his shoelace. The message was clear, written, with the precision of someone accustomed to working with numbers. Don't trust her, nor me. Door 5, 11:30 p.m. Come armed. Mercer destroyed the paper in the guard's bathroom, the words etched in his mind like scars. The last sentence echoed like a warning. Don't trust her, nor me. Rebecca was playing on multiple boards simultaneously, and he had just realized he might be just another sacrificial piece. The small maintenance room next to the main generator was rarely used. It smelled of motor oil and industrial disinfectant. Mercer waited there at 6 p.m., as per the additional note he'd found in his locker. The door creaked, and he instinctively reached for his empty holster. Guards didn't carry weapons inside the prison, except in special situations. Relax, handsome, just me. Letitia's voice was softer in the confined space. She closed the door and leaned against it. What do you want, Vasquez? To warn you, as a favor. She tilted her head. Rebecca Kane isn't who you think. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course not. Letitia smiled. Look, I don't care who you're fucking or wanting to fuck, but you should know that your Wall Street princess has a plan B, C, and the entire alphabet. Why are you telling me this? Because I hate Diana more than I hate you guards, and what's about to happen will give her too much power. Letitia took a step forward. Kane is playing you all against each other. Martinez, you, the director. The drug movement is real, but Kane is not the victim in the story. Who is then? Everyone. The thing is, she's planning an escape during the confusion. And if she succeeds, who do you think will be held responsible? Letitia extended her hand and touched the badge on his chest. Guess who, handsome? Director Holloway was not known for her optimism. 20 years working in the prison system had sculpted in her an almost supernatural distrust. As she watched the security recordings in her office, her suspicions were confirmed one by one. Enter, she commanded upon hearing the knock on the door. Officer Martinez entered, her face composed in a mask of professionalism. You sent for me. Director, sit down, Martinez. I have a proposal for you. Holloway paused the recording. Mercer and Rebecca in the library, a conversation that clearly shouldn't be happening. How do you feel about promotions? Martinez looked at the screen, and then back at Holloway, a slight smile forming. Always open to new opportunities, ma'am. I thought you would be. Holloway turned the monitor away. I want to know everything that's happening in Block C, especially involving our officer Mercer. Why? Because when rats start appearing, there's usually something rotten attracting them. Holloway leaned forward, and Bedford Hills has an emerging infestation. At 11:15 p.m., Mercer completed his round, his heart beating irregularly against his ribs. His mind was a battlefield of conflicting loyalties and uncertainties. Who was manipulating whom? Rebecca, with her ocean eyes and secrets. Martinez, with her insinuations and suspicious proximity to the inmates. Diana, whose contraband empire seemed to grow despite punishments. Or Letitia, the observer who knew too much. Door 5 led to the industrial laundry, adjacent to the outer yard. Theoretically monitored by cameras, but Mercer knew about the blind spots. All guards did. He decided to arrive early. At 11:20 p.m., he positioned himself in the service corridor, hidden behind a cleaning cart. At 11:23 p.m., the first surprise. Diana Reyes, accompanied by 2 of her followers, entered silently, carrying what appeared to be a laundry bag, but whose shape suggested more rigid content. At 11:27 p.m., the second surprise. Officer Martinez, alone, checking her wristwatch repeatedly. At 11:29 p.m., the side door opened again. Mercer held his breath, expecting to see Rebecca. Instead, the imposing figure of Director Holloway emerged from the shadows, a small gun in her right hand. Officer Martinez. What a coincidence. Martinez didn't seem surprised. Good evening, Director. Routine inspection? Something like that. Holloway moved to the side, revealing 2 armed guards behind her. Are we expecting someone? Before Martinez could respond, a metallic noise echoed from the laundry side. Diana and her accomplices, probably preparing the shipment. Mercer shuddered when he felt cold fingers touch his nape. "Don't move," Rebecca whispered in his ear. "It's not what it seems. It never is," he replied bitterly. "Holloway is involved," Rebecca continued, her lips almost touching his ear. "Why do you think the scheme has worked for so long? Martinez is just the intermediary." "Why should I believe you?" Rebecca's fingers slid down his arm until they reached his hand. "Because I could have turned you in, and I didn't." At the same moment, shouts came from the laundry. The operation was falling apart. "Police, nobody move!" Unfamiliar voices echoed through the corridors. They weren't prison guards, they were state police. "Now," Rebecca whispered urgently, "we have to go." Mercer turned to face her. "Where to?" Her smile contained something he hadn't seen before, a genuine vulnerability. "Away from these bars. I'm a federal witness, Jimmy. All of this was an operation to catch Holloway. I was never a real inmate." The sirens began to sound, red lights pulsing through the corridors. Bedford Hills was in lockdown, and James Mercer faced the most important decision of his life. Mercer felt the world spin around him. Federal agents, Holloway, an undercover operation, Rebecca, not an inmate, but an informant. "You lied this whole time," he murmured, his back pressed against the cold wall. "I did my job," Rebecca replied, pulling him away from the growing noise. "Like you do yours. The difference is that mine involved bringing down a corruption network that you didn't even realize existed under your nose." Shots echoed from the main corridor. "Critical situation. We need to get out of here," she insisted. "It's not safe. Diana isn't alone, and not all federal agents have been identified. If Holloway suspects you know something—" A sudden thought hit Mercer like a punch. "Letitia, she warned me." "Letitia Vasquez has been an undercover agent for 3 years, Rebecca confirmed. "She was the one who recruited me for this operation. All that rivalry theater was to maintain our cover." At the end of the corridor, shadows moved quickly. Tense voices gave commands. Rebecca pulled Mercer to a maintenance door that led to the prison's basement. "Why involve me?" he asked, as they descended narrow stairs illuminated only by emergency lights. Rebecca stopped abruptly, turning to face him. Her face, normally composed, showed a mixture of frustration and something more complex. "Because we needed someone on the inside who wasn't compromised. Someone who still had an intact moral sense." She hesitated. "And because you seem different." "Different how?" "Like someone who still cares. It's rare in this place." The rumble of doors being broken down above them interrupted the moment. They continued descending until they reached a service tunnel. Through it, they reached the staff parking lot. A black, Sedan was waiting, engine running, the window lowered, revealing Letitia, no longer wearing the orange uniform but dressed in a dark suit, an FBI badge hanging around her neck. "Move it, lovebirds," she ordered. "We have 6 minutes before this place is completely surrounded." Mercer hesitated. "I can't just—" "You think you still have a career here?" Letitia mocked. "The moment the dust settles, Holloway will make— Sure, you're the perfect scapegoat, the guard in love, used by a cunning inmate. Classic." "It wasn't like that," Rebecca protested, but Letitia interrupted her with a gesture. "Time is running out. In or out, Mercer?" Sirens were approaching. Emergency. Lights reflected in the parking lot puddles, turning them into mirrors of blood. Rebecca looked at him, a silent question in her eyes. Mercer got into the car. Manhattan Federal Center 3 days later. Mercer adjusted the uncomfortable tie while waiting in the conference room. The last 72 hours had been a whirlwind of testimonies, documentation, and shocking revelations. The door opened and Rebecca entered. No longer the vulnerable inmate, but a confident federal agent in a well-fitted grey suit. Still, something of the connection between them remained, pulsing like an electric current in the air between them. "They're ready for you," she announced. "Your cooperation has been crucial." The operation at Bedford Hills had dismantled a corruption network that extended across 3 state prisons, implicating 12 guards, 4 deputy directors, and Holloway herself. Drugs, blackmail, money laundering, all orchestrated from within the walls that were supposed to contain crime, not foster it. "And after?" Mercer asked. "What happens to me?" Rebecca approached, maintaining a professional distance. But her eyes told a different story. Witness protection program, if you want. Or— She hesitated. "There are open positions in the task force. Someone with your experience, your discernment about who to trust and who not to trust." "Ironically, I trusted the wrong people for years," he commented with a bitter smile. "No," Rebecca lightly touched his arm. "You were suspicious at the right moment. That's why we're having this conversation." When she turned to leave, Mercer called out to her. "What was real in that prison between—" Rebecca stopped, her hand on the doorknob. For a moment the professional mask fell, and he glimpsed the woman behind the agent, complex, vulnerable, determined. "More than it should have been," she answered softly. "Much more than it should have been." The door closed behind her, leaving Mercer alone with his choices, past and future. Through the window, he watched Manhattan gleaming under the afternoon sun, a different world from the grey concrete and steel bars of Bedford Hills, a world where perhaps some types of desires didn't need to remain imprisoned. 6 months later, James Mercer observed the Bedford Hills Women's Detention Center building for the last time through his car windshield. The facility was under new management, most of the staff replaced after the scandal that had shaken the penitentiary department. His phone vibrated with a message. "Task force meeting, 10 a.m. Don't be late this time." "Ah," he smiled, putting the phone away. Justice, like life, rarely followed straight lines. Sometimes one had to navigate labyrinths of deception and half-truths to find clarity. Starting the engine, Mercer left Bedford Hills behind. Some prisons were made of concrete and steel, others of secrets and distrust. He had escaped from both, and as he drove toward the city, he realized that the most difficult bars to break were those we build around our own hearts, bars that, ironically, began to yield in the place he least expected, between the walls of a prison, in the eyes of a woman who pretended to be someone she wasn't, just like him.